Okay, shall we just crack on? I don't know if we want to maybe start with you, Mackie, and get cracking on talking about everything that's going on with you guys. So much happening over at Sushiswap. Let's dive into that in a second. I'll open up, first of all, if anyone wants to introduce themselves and say hi. If it's your first time here or you're just getting involved with Yam, now's your chance, or if anyone wants to say anything at all, I'll open it up for a second.
Hey everyone, Fetta's here, part of the Yam team in charge of treasury operations. Glad to be here and glad to have Maki join us today. Welcome everyone. Thank you.
Nice. Welcome, Tom. How are you doing today, man? Tom, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. Sorry, my headset was messed up, but what's up, everyone?
Yeah, doing great. So I guess let's hand over to Maki, and I just want to give you the opportunity to say anything you'd like regarding what's going on with you guys, Sushi House, and more. Yeah, really happy to have you here, and welcome to the Yam Discord.
Yeah, so we have the sushi house proposal that just passed, so we transferred some ETH to make it happen. I'm kind of excited to see how this is gonna play out. We're starting with something very conservative and to potentially expand where some key amounts if we see something that is interesting. I'm just trying to look up here to give you a small update on what we have coming on our side, but it seems like aside from Keshi launch, we're gonna need to add the 12 oracle for Sushiswap in there, and then let people create their own pool. Aside from that, we have the miso launch, which is going to be coming early May. It's supposed to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be an even bigger product launch, because this is going to be enabling a lot of projects to basically launch their own digital assets in a way where they can be supported and easy. So that's pretty great in my opinion, without any fees. And the multi-chain support is one of the biggest priority in my opinion. The fact that Ethereum is having some trouble scaling for some people who want to remain inclusive and everything. I do think that ultimately layer 2 is probably going to be the end game for all of these protocols on Ethereum, and it's coming very soon. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a broad overview very quickly. And in July we're supposed to have the AMMP2 coming. So that's pretty much it.
Yep, so much going on, man. So exciting. Should we talk about Bento for a second? What's coming next with? I know Kashi's out, and yeah.
Yeah, we're about to. We're gonna have a vote very soon to kick off potentially a hackathon for making sure devs and teams can work on Bento. On this side, it's very interesting because basically it's a vault where people deposit the assets, and then pretty much everything can be built on top of it. So, and remain very capital efficient, and there's going to be less kind of gas costs associated with it, and we can even deploy the capital while it's staying in the vault. A portion of it, not the entire thing, to remain solvable and everything. But this is one of the first up was Kashi, which is isolated lending. It's very powerful, and I do think that it's a little bit underrated at the moment. It's very different compared to what Aave, Compound, Cream is doing in the space. But anything can be built on top of Bento. There's never going to be any fees ever, and so on. It's literally just a piece of infrastructure for everyone to build upon.
Incredible, really exciting stuff. And obviously, you guys are part of the Yearn ecosystem. How's everything going there? It's such a powerful force, DAO coming together, and yeah, a lot coming out.
I'm not sure if you've seen lately, there was the deal launch happening this week. which is a very interesting, I think, solution for emission-based token. So you can potentially, have people have a say in how pools or things should be incentivized. And I do think, the model that was kind of pioneered by Curve is very powerful, and potentially more projects should be using it. Aside from that, Yearn has been growing fantastically. Cream is doing well too. Everyone, I think, the Yearn ecosystem per se is more about kind of helping each other as much as we can. And we're all kind of believers in DeFi and so on. So that's pretty much how we see things.
Amazing. And let's talk about Sushi House for a minute. I'm curious to know your perspective on approaching this from your side, with a huge treasury and approaching Yam, working together on this. What's been your experience so far, and your thoughts on treasury management for the industry?
Personally, treasury management, I'm not an expert for it. I do think that we have meaningful amount of sushi tokens sitting idle that is supposed to be managed by the community. I do think that ultimately right now we're kind of in a super cycle. We're in a very bullish phase, but I think it's very relevant to keep in mind that everything could potentially turn quote unquote sour at any moment. Like we saw in October, I do think that DeFi is legitimized now, so ultimately that makes it way more relevant and strong. And with all of the inflation policies and so on going on in the States, printing fiat and so on, I do think that has an impact also. But ultimately, we just want to do the right thing, and even if this might seem like a very low amount to quote unquote put in something stable, I do think it's the right thing to do, and we'll kind of ease in the process and see how it goes, and if the community agrees and likes and so on. Because I do think that treasury management, borrowing is very underrated, I think, against stables, but that's kind of my perspective.
Yeah, amazing. I feel like this is such a huge opportunity for communities, and we're thrilled to be working with you guys and taking this forward from step by step, and taking this as far as we can go. I want to open this up to anyone who has a question for Mackie. Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Mackie, I had a question. So Sushiswap is also obviously very new, under a year old. What do you see the long-term vision of Sushi, in 3 years and then 5 years and then onwards?
I think it's very similar to Yam, building a collective of individuals that has basically no gate to entry, and making sure that they can create and build things that are passionate, that they love to build and are passionate about. And ultimately, ideally, all of this is funded by the entity itself, and rewarding the contributors and holders of Sushi and so on. So I don't think it's only the main focus being in AMM. I think as you can see with Kashi, this is what the devs wanted to build. Some devs wanted to build a quote unquote Israeli lending solution because they wanted to short or long any ERC20. They made it happen. We supported them. We provided the capital to get the audits done and so on. It's gonna provide value for Sushi holders. At the end of the day, everyone is happy. Everyone is basically motivated to work on it. And then I do think there's other product coming. Miso, like I told you here, there's a gas relayer coming. I cannot really talk too much about it, but it's gonna be nice. And many other projects. So that's kind of, I guess, the end goal for Sushi, right? I don't think you should limit yourself to being just an AMM. We do have our own new AMM coming around July, but aside from that, like I said, we are similar to Yam, people that just assemble together, that have no clue who each other is, anonymous for some, and we are able to get shit done all together. And this is like a very interesting coordination experiment happening in real time.
That's awesome, Maki. I had a quick question about that. How do you coordinate all these different people with different projects on different, and just get them together to build things? It seems to be a massive undertaking.
Yeah, small teams, ships. Put them like 3-4 people top all together, and provide them the resources they need. If they need security audit, so be it. If they need a designer, so be it. We do have I think 3 designers at the moment. We have 7 Solidity dev and 3 front end. One is kind of full stack, and then basically like everyone is sort of working in small. I call them sweat team. So we have like a few people dedicated just to the AMM, a few people dedicated just to cache, and so on and so on. So and we have like kind of the stand up, and we have like sync all together, once or twice a week depending. And like we have the BD team or marketing team doing like all the outbound and inbound, dealing with the inbound and so on. So that's kind of how everything is, I guess, managed. But ultimately, I think this model is very difficult to bring outsiders, and that's something I want to really open up and bring more people to get involved. So Coordinate is probably going to be helping us on this front, where you can just drop in an amount of money per month, and then people can jump in, work on things, and the quote unquote core contributors or people that are trusted, I don't know how you want to call it, can vouch for people work and make sure that there was output, and they can quote unquote prove it. They can say what the people were working on when they ask for the points. And you even have like a small graphic to kind of see the connection between individual, and if someone is trying to quote unquote fraud the system. But anyway, that's kind of my take on this, I guess, how to coordinate everyone. And we have like a fantastic PM, and she's doing kind of she's oiling, I guess, all the gears for everyone, for all of these smaller teams, and making everyone in sync and in touch, and making sure everything is on time. So that's how we do it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I had a quick question about, or maybe not quick, but I was curious what your thoughts are on what a bear cycle might look like this time around. Just now that DeFi has matured so much more than it was the last bear cycle, and especially like how that how Sushiswap might approach things in a different way, or what kinds of products you guys might be looking at developing in a bear cycle versus a bull cycle like we're in right now.
I think what is just more interesting about a bear cycle is there's less distraction, or there's this like hype things, like like the whole things with Dogecoin, SafeMoon, and so on, and all these kind of weird token popping up in top 100 and so on and so on. It's kind of very distracting to some. Also, like people making a lot of money makes it way harder to hire individuals, and etc. etc. It's not a bad thing per se. I do think that it's good that we have a bull market, because this way some people can quote unquote quit their job and get more involved in the ecosystem. So that's great in one way. But yeah, the bear market is going to be brutal for project, I guess, without anyone with safe and sound treasury, and also devs that are like in the payroll and love their job, right, or love what they're contributing to. I don't even think anyone working in DeFi really see it as a job, because like ultimately it's so exciting to work and contribute in all these protocols and so on. So I think we're just going to see like a re-rating for market cap, and that's pretty much it. I don't think any of these DeFi project are going anywhere, and just less noise, more focus.
Great question. Completely agree. There are some powerful things coming out of this cycle, and everyone's going to keep building long through the bear. Does anyone else have any other questions? Just open it up again.
Can you describe what MISO is a little more? I haven't heard much about it, and I know you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, sure. So it's very easy. So right now you take let's start with how digital asset or tokens are launched at the moment. The preferred path is usually some people will opt in for the Balancer's smart bootstrapping liquidity pool or something like this. They're going to launch on Balancer, then they're going to go on to Sushiswap or Uniswap and do like a secondary kind of market there with liquidity mining incentives and so on. Sometimes no. And then ultimately they're going to try and depending on how successful this is, some token might want to get on a lending platform like Cream or something like this. With MISO, what we're going to be offering is basically like an all-in-one solution for these projects, so they can literally go in the MISO interface. They can pick. They can even design the token from there. So they want like a governance with Compound Bravo. Just check it. Just type check it checkbox, and then you want to have 10% to be team, 25% vested, 30% committed to liquidity on Sushiswap with the ETH pair or stable pair. It's possible. You want to have a whitelist for who is authorized to participate in the pre-sale or the quote. I don't like to call it ideal. I think it's more like launching an asset in a way that is fair. So you can pick whitelist, whatever it is, people that participated in DeFi governance, whether it is people that are holding a token. All of this is available. And then the most important thing in my opinion is, how do you want to conduct the sale? Do you want to do like a trench style of auction pre-sale, similar to what Hashmask did? Do you want to do a Dutch auction? Do you want to do the ICBO? Want to do one token, one ETH or something like this? Where 1,000 token is equal to 1 ETH. You choose. Like literally, that's the thing. That's a beautiful thing. It's literally like a way to bootstrap a digital asset in a way that is easy and friendly for people that are not even technical. So you want it to be a rebasing token, so be it. And the thing is, all these kind of recipes are pluggable, right? So if something is missing, we don't need to deploy like a V2 for the contract. We just need to add, peripheral contracts to it. And that's pretty much it. That's MISO in a nutshell. Ultimately, there's way many more use cases that you can imagine. All of this will be potentially running on Bento. What happened is Bento launched after we started development for MISO. So we're trying to see if we can all make it on Bento. But anyways, that's what's happening. That's MISO for you.
Cool, thank you.
I have a question for Sushiswap V3. I saw that you guys are planning for these things called franchise pools, which are for centralized exchanges, I believe. But to me, it sounds like it's very similar to Balancer private pools. Is that right? And will any other parties have access to that, or what?
That's one thing. Not necessarily everyone is going to be access to that. You know why? Because some of these centralized exchanges, they cannot actually tap into DeFi without running into legal hurdle. So what we see is some projects are trying to not dodge this, but circumvent that by I'm just gonna name drop it, but Compound Chain, that's what they're attempting to do. They're attempting to put everyone in a whitelist thing, and then you can only the only borrower that are going to be able to take this capital is going to be KYC or like a known entity. In this case, for these franchise pool, could be something similar for some centralized exchange.
Okay,
So
interesting.
that's very key.
And would hypothetically, if I wanted to build something on using a system similar to franchise pools on top of Sushiswap, would that be available for me?
Totally, that would also be available. But that's just one way we're thinking, Mirren. It's to make sure that from a legal perspective, compliance perspective, it is friendly for them to use. And also potentially like not running just on Ethereum, because some of these exchanges have their own chain now. So that's very important to remain aligned with them. Even though it can be problematic from a liquidity standpoint, I don't make the rules, right? I adapt to what I can do with them. And so we have like a win-win situation going on. But that is going to be a building block. And I do think these building blocks should be quote unquote more, how can I say, reward builders in some capacity. And that's what I'm most excited about. Because I don't think it makes sense that, we see project like, wallet or infrastructure piece, like, Zapper or Ethereum, not necessarily having like a clear revenue model. And I think, protocol plays into this. You can see it with, the Yearn affiliate program where, if you deposit TVL, you will earn a portion of the strategist fees, I believe. I don't see like why more protocol would do something like this. And for Sushi, like in our case, what do we want to incentivize, right? We want to incentivize volume. I think that's the major key here for us at the moment, right? There could be other metric coming in play, like number of users and so on, but that can be easily prone to cyber attack, right? Unless you bring up something like Bright ID or something, but then you add friction. So ultimately, I do think that rewarding dev that are kind of using our building blocks is something we should also think about. I've always had kind of this idea in mind, like first you get the LP, because if you don't have an LP, you don't have a DEX. Then you get the dev, and then you get the traders or the users. And ultimately, I think we quote unquote succeed the part one, and now we should focus on making sure dev are kind of incentivized to build on top of Sushi.
Awesome. I see like your guys' strategy similar, or like people compare you to Uniswap, but I feel like what you guys are doing are what Balancer is trying to do, but you guys are going further. So that's really cool. I like that.
Do you imagine that the sort of incentivizing builders would be, that's something more along the lines of what UMA's doing with their rewards?
Totally,
Yeah.
but with KPI option involved. I've been talking with the UMA people for quite some time. I really like them, even if their product is a little bit. I think people are missing knowledge about the project. They don't necessarily know how powerful UMA can be. And Yam has been collaborating with them, so I assume you guys are starting to you know exactly how it can be leveraged for many things. And KPI option is one of them. The U-Stonk was one of them. The generative finance was one of them. Ultimately, like I do think that like this developer mining initiative by UMA, even though it is not I guess fully exploited because not everyone is aware of how to leverage it, is something we're going to see more and more coming. As long as basically there is people ready to take part in them, right? If there's no builder building with them, then it's not going to be working.
Maki, thanks for joining us today. This has been really interesting. I've got a question related to a product that we have in plan, which is in the insurance realm. And I was just wondering if you have any impressions about the market around DeFi insurance and the potential for it.
I think it's key. I think personally, like, if a project is unaudited and launching, so be it. Like, it's reviewed by some people, so be it. But please, for the sake of everyone's money, like, have at least like some sort of insurance in place if something bad happens, because it is very. It can be crazy, right? We all know, like, there's massive amount of money being dealt in DeFi, and sometimes I'm worried about some of these projects where we don't have an audit, we don't have an insurance in place, so it's kind of a YOLO move where you need to inspect the code very in depth before going, and then you never know. So that's something I think insurance is key.
Do you have a perspective on the difference between the end user buying insurance directly as opposed to, say, a protocol providing a level of insurance, or maybe help to underwrite part of the insurance across the board for all their users?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends, right? It depends. I think Yarn has been going with underwriting part of it, and I think that's very good. But I feel like not all of them can, so that's what is tricky. Some protocols are just launching. I don't see them underwriting any insurance for their product. They don't have any money or else, or like maybe they reserve part of the money they receive if they do a pre-sale or something like this. But otherwise, or part of the VC investment they get. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, like, the way I see it has always been free for all. So if I go somewhere and there's like insurance on, I don't know, Nexus Mutual, to name one of them, or Cover or else, then I will protect myself, unless it is a very well known DeFi protocol like Compound or Aave or Sushi or etc. Balancer. I wouldn't have any problem putting liquidity there. But yeah, I think it would be like depending on the end user. I don't think it should necessarily be protocols, but I think if they can afford it, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Those are great answers. I just have one other question, if you have time. So, I hear a lot about, and we can kind of see the trajectory of the DeFi adoption going mainstream. And, we're all building here because we expect for this parallel financial universe to become occupied by more of the traditional finance folks. So as that curve starts ramping, what do you see are the greatest needs for DeFi protocols to be able to welcome and make the experience not such a steep learning curve for that particular crowd?
For TradFi people, or like for regular users and users? Because they're like very different.
Maybe you can address both of them.
I think for end user, it's no one will ever get their mind to pay for transactions, or even kind of want to learn about gas fees and so on. Like they're used to a Web 2.0 UX, right? So there's absolutely no point in trying to shove down this kind of whole concept of like paying for your transaction, and it's a blockchain and all the benefits. Like, they don't care. Like, they just want to make sure their money's safe, and that's about it. I think, even though, like, for me it is key to make sure what we're doing here, and like, it's built on something that is censorship resistant, that is decentralized, and so on. the end user doesn't have time to research all of this, and they frankly don't care if this runs on Ethereum or on something else. All they want is to have their quote-unquote yield, or make sure that their money is productive and that it is safe. That's it. So that's how I think the UX is going to look like in a kind of layer 2 world, potentially, because it can't be happening on mainnet at the moment until we scale to where we want to be. And one thing that is very strange is that is not even just for a consumer that don't know about crypto. I talk with Bitcoiners, and they cannot wrap their head around coming to Ethereum sometimes because of this whole way we're doing transaction compared to them. Like, I don't understand why there's no wallet built with kind of a UX for Bitcoiner, where if they want to pay a very small amount of gas, and it takes them, I don't know, 1 day to execute, so be it. Like, that's something that we don't see being built, and that could be very beneficial for these individuals. But that's just one thing. And for the TradFi people, I think they're just going to be, they're going to need to adapt. That's it. Like, they're going to learn all of this, and they will have to. Like, people are basically like going to talk about DeFi and talk about the returns and so on. Like, hey, we found something, you need to look into it, and blah blah blah, because it changed so many concepts in finance that for them it is groundbreaking. It is like mind blowing. They're like, I've never seen something like this in finance, and that's how, whenever I talk with someone in TradFi, that's what happens. So, and ultimately, they're not even against it. That's a beautiful thing, is they want to be a part of it and understand it. And to me, this is a very, positive signal. But, maybe my experience is biased. Who knows?
Yeah, that's great insight. I love it. What would you give do you feel that there's, the classic 10x metric? Do you feel like there's a potential with the layer 2 single click button entry by end users in sometime in the future to help create that 10x growth in the DeFi industry?
If DeFi is as easy as Robinhood, I don't see why we wouldn't have 100 million people onboarded. Like, especially because there's absolutely no gates to keep the people outside. If you want to trade on Robinhood, you need to be a US citizen. You can't be from someone from Singapore. You can't be in Korea. You can't be in Europe or else. So I think we're gonna see not just the 10x. It's gonna be a very hockey stick sort of adoption curve, because everyone is gonna be talking about it. It's gonna be cheap. It's gonna be easy. I don't see what else you want. It's just gonna be what we all hope for. And once the people are there, I think ultimately institutions are gonna have to adopt this, and so on, and they already are. Ultimately, if you look into Singapore, if you look in the UK and in Australia, there's many news about that. Where they are exploring, or they are actually integrating crypto inside their own bank account. So it's just, it's not even an end goal. And potentially, personally, I don't even see this as that interesting. I think the next level is actually to bring quote unquote business in all of this. I want to see private equity being run on blockchain and DeFi. I think that's what is super powerful. But we have other problems to solve, like accounting issues, oracles, power levels.
So true, so true. Well, that's been an interesting conversation. Thank you for opening up and providing that. It's very helpful. And here's to the hockey stick that's coming. May we all benefit.
Yeah, agree 100%. Adoption is coming. We're rewriting the book with DeFi. This is an unstoppable train. We absolutely love working together with Sushiswap, and we really appreciate you spending the time here today, Maki, answering all our questions. Thank you so much for attending today. So we can now sort of transition, if no one else, if we want to move on, to more governance-related issues. So let me just share my screen here. Okay, everyone can see the call notes. Yep. So, Fedis, do you want to hand over to have a look at the numbers for this week?
Yeah, thanks, Will. So KPIs for this week, the Treasury holdings specifically, they're looking great. The market is kind of going back and forth, but overall our assets are looking better and better. DPI ETH LP, which we're LPing for index coup tokens, a little over 3 million. Yearn YUSD, a little over 1 million. Yam DAO House, which is our version of Sushi House, a little over 1 million. Sushi earnings, we've got a little over 750,000. We've got ETH in the pool as well, at about 750 as well. UMA tokens, what we're gaining from Degenerative.finance, also gaining that from the synthetics that we're minting and LPing. We're looking at a little over 500K there. That's part of that is some of it needs to be distributed to users, so we'll figure that out in the near future. And then index coup gains, looking at 500,000, and DeFi Pulse kind of the remainder of DeFi Pulse, another 200,000. Total assets looking at 8.2 million, give or take. As you know, these things change every single day. And it doesn't include any of our Yam kind of working funds. So this is Treasury holdings for us to use and invest in and to grow Yam ecosystem. So looking good. The change from the previous week is around, the Treasury's grown around $600,000. That's all I've got. I'll hand it back to you, Will.
Amazing, incredible growth. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, good solid community growth as well. 500 more Yam holders. We've seen growth on both Twitter and Discord as well. So a special little thing here. I'm going to hand over to a designer. What's this we're looking at here?
Yeah, so that's a little preview. Actually, I'm going to take over the screen here and show this a little bit bigger. Okay, now is that visible, a large blue screen?
Loading on my. Yeah, it says loading for me.
Loading but not resolving.
Yeah, it's actually.
I'm sorry, can you see it or not?
Still loading.
No.
No, try ending it and restarting it.
No? Okay, well, close that.
Maybe somebody else wants to.
Yeah, I think that would be best. Let me throw the link into.
Hey, I can get it. I can
Okay, thanks.
share my screen. You guys see? Yes.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Indigo. Okay, cool. Degenerative is in, this is the 2.0 semi-working mock-up, and Indigo is actually programming all this right now, doing all the work, and other parts of the team. Dev team are wiring all the pieces and parts of it. Basically, this is the redesign and kind of a complete rethink of degenerative finance. So the UMA synthetics that we launched with, the interface was somewhat workable. We learned a lot, and we took all the learnings and have incorporated them into a platform that we're building now that we expect to be able to be extensible, grow quite expansive if we choose to do so, and provide a much better user experience, a lot of help along the way. So what you're looking at right now is the Explore Synthetics page, and there's, as you can see across the top, there's multiple ways to search or view different synthetics based on different selections. And along the left-hand side is kind of your main control panel, and the right-hand side is an options panel that provides different aspects for help. We'll get into that in a second. Indigo, if you can navigate to one of the individual synths. So selecting a synth, it just says current synth. So let's just say that was UGAS. We're looking at a UGAS page here, and we've got multiple ways to look at the graph. Trying to provide a lot more information and clarity, both in navigation as well as information here. And the three contracts, or the three different tokens for UGAS, would be listed below, and they're all selectable. On the right-hand side, there's some additional help links to be able to allow whatever level user comes in to be able to navigate their way through learning what they need to learn about, or just getting right to business. So let's get right to business. Indigo, if you would click on the first synth, right? So this takes us to a point where this is the interaction panel, or the transaction panel, defaulting to minting because this particular wallet has not already been minting. It has no positions yet. And so the first step is obvious, employing context sensitivity into the user experience. So some of these decisions are made up front to simplify the user flow through the site. And let's see now, Indigo, do you happen to have the other transaction screen, the individual screen cap?
Yeah. So these are just the mock-ups. So I have to, but this is the other page.
Perfect. Perfect. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So one of the big problems with managing your positions when you mint a UMA synth is dealing with your collateral ratio. And so we've been looking at ways to better visualize this for newer users and more advanced users as well. And to us, this seems very easy to visualize as a gauge. And so we're making this component and this whole page in order to manage your EMP positions very easily. This whole thing will be responsive, so you can select how much you want. You can very easily see how much of the collateral is being utilized, and you can adjust it very easily. One of the big problems with, like I said, the EMP positions are kind of hard to understand, and as Maki said, the UMA is a fairly complicated product, and so this is one of our attempts to make it easier to use.
It's looking absolutely gorgeous. Really nice. Looking forward to seeing this very soon. Anything else we want to say about this designer, or should we move on?
No, I think that's it, unless somebody has a question.
There is still, this is the portfolio page, so this is the last piece, but you will be able to see all your positions at once. So this will be important as we have multiple synths coming up.
Amazing, looking so good. Right, if there's no questions, shall we move on? I think there might be something special from the BDM1 as well. Do you want to share your screen, or shall I set up. Go back to my screen on the docs.
He's not able to join this time around. I don't actually no he's here. It looks like he's here.
So, can someone take the reins? I'll be home soon.
Yeah, I actually think maybe we can hold off on this one. Maybe I don't know what you guys think. I think we talked about a lot today. It could be a good time to wrap up. What do you guys think?
I was wondering, by the way, do you guys have any kind of exploring anything sidechain or layer 2 related, by the way? Just wondering for the Yam community. What is kind of the perspective on this?
Great question.
So currently, we are looking into some assets in Matic or Polygon because of the partnership with Cometh, and then also it also depends on where Uma's contracts are going to go. That's probably where we're also going to start building on as well, but it depends on what they're thinking.
Sounds good. Just wanted to do a small temperature check. I do see kind of this phenomenon happening where people are more and more going on Polygon because it's a little bit more inclusive for smaller holders, and I do think it's interesting to see evolve. So thank you.
One consideration for that discussion, it is something that we have talked about quite a bit. So it is on our radar. Really, it's we're just trying to figure out what the best solutions are, and the truth is the best solution may not be the same for across the board for all products, right? Because when we're talking about an L2, there's both liquidity, right? You could host liquidity on an L2 or assets on an L2, but then there's also DApp interactions. So like what chain is that happening on? And so that, sometimes it's the same conversation, but sometimes, you're looking at two different things. And so that's also kind of an added complication, or at least an added consideration that we're just kind of sorting out at the moment.
Naki, on that point, you guys have really been sort of pushing into different L2s and seem like you're looking at a lot of them. Have you, how do you guys feel about sort of this conversation between like optimistic rollup, sidechain, ZK? What do you think is sort of
we're going to be so right now we deployed on everything EVM compliant. We're seeing some traction on very few of them, so we're seeing some traction on Polygon a little bit, on Phantom, and also on there's traction on BSC, but I don't think we necessarily want to compete with PancakeSwap and so on. We're going to see what we do there, but ultimately I think I'm more a proponent of partnerships than being aggressive and trying to compete in some way. So I do think if we have if there's incentives somewhere, people are gonna flock there. So Aave has been able to reach 1 billion, I think, on Matic without any sort of issues. So I don't see why we wouldn't do something similar. We also had a proposal for Solana, but the thing is, one of the issues there is we have absolutely no dev that are Solana developers. So whoever posted the proposal, Radeon, need to actually put the groundwork to make it happen. We cannot do it. We don't have the resources for it. So it's cool to vote on things, but if we cannot even implement it, what's the whole point, right? So they need to help us on this front. So that's why I think it's going to be a major blockers for other layer 1 to try and, unless they have a very easy bridge to Ethereum, because that's what we all know what to dev in. So ultimately I do think And there's Moonbeam coming too. I think it's gonna be cool to see it happen. But for me, I think Polygon until we have like legit solid layer 2, like Arbitrum, ZK rollups, and Optimist. I think for me it's going to be like literally it doesn't make any single difference. I do have a preference for ZK rollups, but it's going to be the one that is going to be out first that is going to be probably taking most of the cake. But yeah, I mean, at this point, this is all speculation. We're just talking to talk. We'll see what happens in practice. Potentially, some protocols in the project are gonna like. What if I tell you that like all the incentives for sushi are switching to a layer 2? Is that all of this capital gonna move in one day? I don't think so. But I think there's gonna be major liquidity doing the dance, and I don't see why other protocols wouldn't do the same if they are if they're convinced that this is where they want to be or taking a side. We are not taking a side per se, at the moment. But I do think that cross-chain incentives are going to come sooner than later, and it's going to be very interesting. I'm waiting right now for data points. That's what I want. I want to see the data. Because there's absolutely no point in throwing money somewhere if you don't actually can back it with numbers. And for Ethereum, that's very easy. We can see it. For Binance Smart Chain, like the nodes are not even like syncing, so that's a bit scary. and and the rest we'll see. Like I think there's not even a block expert for Matic yet, but Covalent is able to you're able to plug in the Covalent API and do some manipulation. So we'll see what happens, but I think everyone should be working on this because I don't see myself or anyone per se like doing many $60 trade on Ethereum. It doesn't make sense, even if you have size.
Yeah, agree completely. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, and very, very bullish for the future of DeFi and Ethereum. So again, yeah, if anyone wants to say anything else, now's a great time. Otherwise, we can wrap up.
Mackie, if I was planning, well, I'm one of the devs for Yam. Is there any devs that I could speak to about, some of the things that you guys are building for V3 or anything?
Yeah,
Some
100%.
ideas?
The best would be to reach out to me on Telegram if possible. So anyone here can actually reach out to me on Telegram. So it's OX Mackie. They don't do zeros on Telegram. So you can just ping me there and I'll put you in a group chat with them and can bounce jam on some ideas and things. We have the MasterChef V2 coming. This might be interesting to Yam, depending, because you could do double incentives very easily, depending on how you're doing it at the moment. There's no more vesting, so you can also keep the incentivizer, but just some thoughts. And for other pairs too, that could be interesting. If you want to, do double incentives for anything from the generative finance or else. Happy to offer any products at Yam, by the way. So just let me know how I can be a value, and yeah, let's start.
Beautiful, thank you.
Oh, we really appreciate that, Mackie. Absolute pleasure working together, and looking forward to continuing to grow our relationship moving forwards. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Amazing chat today, guys. Really happy to share the awesome progress that's being made on DGen V2 and beyond. And yep, look forward to the next call in 2 weeks' time. I'll speak to everyone soon. Thank you so much, Mackie, for attending.
Bye.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Good call.
Bye, everyone.